friends, welcome back to my channel. So this is the second part of the history of English literature. In the first part we discussed the initial uh, three ages of the history of English literature. So I hope that that was pretty much clear for you, the idea and the things that I shared, that we both discussed along with video. So I have discussed socio-political, cultural characteristics, literary trends, and major authors of the age. I have mentioned them. I have not gone very detailed or in deep to that socio-political, cultural things and literary trends and major authors. But it was just an overview. So that overview we will be continuing in this part second as well. So, like I used to do, we'll be again discussing the next three ages of history of English literature, from where we stopped in the part one. So, in the part one, we discussed Anglo-Saxon period, Anglo-Norman period, and the age of Chaucer. So, the three ages that comes after the age of Chaucer, we'll be seeing in part 2 of history of English literature in this video. So like we did in the past ages, we'll be seeing socio-political, cultural characteristics, literary trends and major authors, and the reasons behind the age got a particular name. So like we discussed in the earlier video, we will be doing the same in this video about the next three ages. Now let's move on. So, which is the fourth one? The fourth age of English literature is age of revival. So, let me just brush up for you what we have already learned. So, Anglo-Saxon period, English was slowly rising. And we have to remember Beowulf, we have to remember Caedmon, Cinewulf, King Alfred, then Venerable Bede, Alcian, all those things, all those persons in Anglo-Saxon period. In Anglo-Norman period was from 1066 to 1340, approximately the end of the first half of the 14th century. So, as 100 years war initiated, Anglo-Norman period ended there. Okay, so we have to remember that English was not the major language of the period, but Anglo-Norman, a French dialect was the major language. Literature was actually written in that language, and English was pushed to the lower strata of the society. That was happened during the age of Anglo-Norman period. Then after Anglo-Norman period, we have the age of Chaucer. Geoffrey Chaucer was the towering figure, and he was the one. He is also known as the father of English poetry. Okay, that I mentioned. Forgot to mention there in that audio, but let me say that now. Geoffrey Chaucer is known as the father of English poetry, and he what was his greatness, what was his contribution? He actually chose a dialect, English dialect, East Midland dialect, and he started writing in that particular language. And he had William Langland, John Gower, Mandeville as his contemporaries of the age, and he has written many tremendous works as well. And we have to remember that many socio-political things happened during the age of Chaucer. What were they? 100 years of war, of course, were there. Then church authority was questioned by Wycliffe, reformers like Wycliffe and his followers. Then we have Black Death happening, and also peasants revolt. Please remember these things. So by remembering this thing, you will get easily connected to the history of English literature, and it will make much more easier to learn this. Separately, if you want to by heart all these things, this won't happen, and it will be a very tedious job. Okay. And after the age of Chaucer, we have age of revival. So like I said in the previous video, in 1400, from 1340 to 1400, it was age of Chaucer. So in 1400, as Henry IV claimed or he himself proclaimed as the King of England, age of Chaucer ended and age of revival started. Okay, so age of revival extended from 1400 to 1550. Roughly the end of the first half of the 16th century, it was age of revival. And this age witnessed rebellions like the War of the Roses and Cade's Rebellion. So these are the major two wars. 100 years of war is going on, and along with that, War of the Roses. War of the Roses happened for the throne of England, between two royal families. Okay, War of the Roses. So about War of the Roses and Cade's Rebellion, we will be looking at it, when we detailedly look at age of revival, not in this overview. Okay, it is just an overview of the ages. So age of revival witnessed rebellions or wars like the War of the Roses and Cade's Rebellion. See, in every other age, some or other political or social or cultural events will happen, or literary events will happen, that actually makes that age unique and particular. And that's how that people are recognizing, or critics recognized that age as something very new, which is not a continuation of the previous age. That's how a particular age is formed. And this particular age, we have War of the Roses and Cade's Rebellion. Remember that. So Cade is the name of the particular leader who actually led the rebellion of the peasants, Cade's Rebellion. And now, since the previous age was Chaucer's age, or Geoffrey Chaucer was the major towering figure of the age of Chaucer, in the following age, or the age after age of Chaucer, there will be many followers for Chaucer. That's quite obvious, right? If a great person is there, a politician or a literary person or a hero or a religious great person, then there will be followers in the coming generation, right? So same thing happened in age of revival. Okay, so there were two categories, two groups of followers of Chaucer's writings. The first group is known as English Chaucerians, and the other one is Scottish Chaucerians. Okay, so the English Chaucerians, why they are named like that? Because English people. So the English people who were following Chaucer's writings, Chaucer's way of writings, Chaucer's themes, Chaucer's choices of writing. So that people, those English poets were known as English Chaucerians. Scottish followers of Chaucer known as Scottish Chaucerians. Okay, so simple as that. So Chaucer were the towering figure of the previous age. So in the age of revival, which follows that age, actually had many people, poets influenced by Chaucer, and they mainly formed two groups, English Chaucerians, Scottish Chaucerians. Okay, so they also made significant contributions during the age of revival. Okay, these two Chaucerians. And who all are the major English Chaucerians? Okay, the major English Chaucerians were Thomas Hoccleve, John Lydgate, John Skelton, Alexander Barclay, Thomas Norton, and etc. So please remember these names. Okay, please remember, English Chaucerians, Thomas Hoccleve, John Lydgate, John Skelton, Alexander Barclay, Thomas Norton. Why? Because questions can be asked. You have to pick the odd one out. You have to, if you know these names and the ages they belong and the group they belong, it will actually help you to actually derive at a correct answer, even if you don't know the correct answer. Okay, even if you don't know the correct answer, but you know some of the authors, or some of the names belong to which age, which is given in the choices, or choices will be there in UGC NET exams. So if you actually segregate the choices into various ages or into various groups they belong, then that will make easy for you to actually arrive at a correct answer, even if you fully don't know which is the correct answer. So that way we have to learn. That's why we have to learn or understand, at least must have an understanding of the ages and the groups that we have and the major events happen in that particular ages as well. So just learn it as a story. No need to put enormous amount of time and your efforts into learning all these names and things happen. Just connect them each other and learn. Okay, 100 years of war was happening, already happening, and it actually carrying out throughout the 100 years or more than 100 years. And in between, Henry the Fourth, he himself proclaimed as the king of England. So some other group will be unhappy about that. So there will be a struggle to get the throne of England. That is the usual politics happening inside a country. So for that reason, War of the Roses happened. Cade's rebellion happened from the part of the peasants, and Cade was the leader. So remember it like that. It's not that you have to by heart it one by one. That will be a very tedious job. Since Chaucer was the towering figure of the last century or last age, obviously Chaucer will have many followers. Imitations of Chaucer's work will be there. People will get inspired because of the themes and style and choices made by Chaucer while he was writing his works. So same thing happened in Age of Revival. There were two groups of followers, English Chaucerians and Scottish Chaucerians. Okay, when you connect like this and when you learn like a story, then it will get very easy, as well as you'll get some fun in learning history of literature. Okay, so these are the major English Chaucerians. So who all are the major Scottish Chaucerians? James First of England, Robert Henryson, William Dunbar, Sir Davis Lindsay. So these are the major Scottish Chaucerians. James First of England, then Robert Henryson, William Dunbar, then Sir Davis Lindsay. So they must have written poetry by getting inspired by Chaucer, Geoffrey Chaucer. So most of them imitated Chaucer's themes, Chaucer's way of writing, Chaucer's, see, when Chaucer started in writing English, how he was influential to other coming generation poets. See, that's the major impact that Chaucer made. He emerged as a towering figure not only in his own age, but in the following age also. He happened to influence many poets. That's how English was slowly regained its popularity and also assumed its modern form. It was not happening all of a sudden at the one point of a history. No, it actually happened in this way, slowly by slowly. So English became a full-fledged language, and also English became a worthy language, as well as English assumed its modern form through Chaucer. Okay. Now, what happened? So along with these Chaucerians, English Chaucerians and Scottish Chaucerians, there are another group of poets who were known as court poets. Okay, court poets, what is court poet? Poets who all are there in the court of a king. So court poets. So we have two major court poets in Age of Revival, Thomas Wyatt and Earl of Surrey. So we must have heard these two names accompanied together. Always they will appear together, Thomas Wyatt and Earl of Surrey. Why? Because they introduced sonnet form and its metrical rhyme scheme to English. So that is their major contribution to English literature, especially English poetry. Thomas Wyatt introduced sonnet. So sonnet was actually belonged to Petrarch. Petrarch is considered the major proponent of sonnet. Italian poet Petrarch. Petrarchan sonnet and English sonnet, we have two divisions of sonnet and all. So from there, Thomas Wyatt actually introduced sonnet form of poetry into English, and Earl of Surrey, he introduced the metrical rhyme scheme, which is suitable for English. So the Italian sonnet and its metrical scheme may not be suitable for English, but Earl of Surrey introduced the metrical rhyme scheme. So together Thomas Wyatt and Earl of Surrey, they introduced sonnet with its metrical rhyme scheme. So this metrical rhyme scheme, which was introduced by Earl of Surrey, is now known as Shakespearean sonnet rhyme scheme, or Shakespearean rhyme scheme, or English sonnet rhyme scheme. So it is known in various names as well. So, but it was introduced by Earl of Surrey. Please remember that. So Earl of Surrey is the title name. What is his original name? Earl of Surrey is known as, Earl of Surrey's original name is Henry Howard. Please remember that. I have seen a question in the previous year question paper that what is the original name of Earl of Surrey? Asking something like that. So, and the answer is Henry Howard. Please remember. And Thomas Wyatt and Earl of Surrey, they are the court poets of Age of Revival. So, why this age got the name Age of Revival? Something is reviving in this age. England as a society is getting revived. English language is getting revived. It is assuming its modern form, and it's getting a very full-fledged language, worthy language after a period of time. So, in many ways, some revivals were happening, and England is now ruling. No foreigners are ruling England now. They are actually assuming a national character, patriotic national character as well. So we can see that in this age, how a revival is happening, because people began to travel around the globe. They travel to find new sea routes, and they started, it's from this year, from this age onwards, we can see that people from Europe, they started to invent many sea routes, or they started to find, the word find is not proper here, but still they visited many unknown lands, so far unknown to their land. So it was like they were getting access to many more new knowledge as well. So in many other sense, many revivals were happening in England as well as around the world. So that's why this age got the name the Age of Revival. Please remember that. So in the field of poetry, in the genre poetry, please remember English Chaucerians and Scottish Chaucerians and Thomas Wyatt and Earl of Surrey. And they also have made some contributions in blank verse too. Okay, this Thomas Wyatt and Earl of Surrey, they have contributed to blank verse. And who made blank verse popular? It was Christopher Marlowe of the Age of Elizabeth, that we will discuss later. Now, so we have discussed the poetry of Age of Revival, the major persons associated to it. Now, what is happening in drama, in the section of drama as well as in the section of prose? Okay, so in drama, we already had a mention in the previous video that in the age of Anglo-Norman age, drama was slowly sprouting. Drama was there, but in Age of Revival, we could see that mystery, miracle, morality cycle of plays were very typical during this time. So the typical forms of drama during the Age of Revival were mystery, miracle, and morality cycle of plays. Mystery means Bible stories, biblical stories. Then miracle stories means saint stories of saints, story or miraculous kind of stories, miraculous cure from a disease, such kind of, because of the belief, because of the Christian belief, such kind of stories. Mystery, miracle. Morality cycle of plays means what will happen if you do certain kind of sins. So such kind of stories were portrayed, or such kind of stories were made into plays, as plays, in association with the celebrations, Christian celebrations. So they were enacted during the Christian celebrations. Mystery in association with the celebration of Christmas, Easter. This mystery, miracle, morality cycle of plays were enacted. So in that way, drama was getting its secular form slowly by slowly. So this actually began to be very visible, and we can see that drama was slowly assuming its higher forms in the age of revival. Okay, so please remember, drama was in the form of mystery, miracle, and morality cycle of plays in this particular age. Now let's see what was happening in the in prose. Which are the major prose writers of the age? Reginald Peacock, William Caxton, John Fisher, Sir Thomas Mallory. These are the major prose writers. There are many, but these are the major prose writers of the age of revival. Please remember William Caxton particularly. Why? William Caxton is very important as he was the first English printer. So printing press, establishment of printing press is very important for literature as well as for spreading literacy. It made literature, or it made written books or texts cheap. Writing something was very expensive. It is not possible that you make a number of copies of copies of a poetry or a prose work by simply writing it. It is not that easy, or it is expensive. It was expensive as well. But by the invention of printing press and by establishing printing press in England, William Caxton was the first person who made it happen during the second half of the 15th century. If my memory is correct, it was in the year 1455, I think. 1455 happened the establishment of printing press in England by William Caxton, and he actually translated many works into English, and he also printed them. He printed Mortady Arthur and many other prose works, prose poetry. He printed the Canterbury Tales as well. So many contemporary major works he translated, as well as he printed them so that general public who all are literate, they could get an access to it. And comparing to the previous ages, literary texts began to be more cheap because of the printing press. So William Caxton is a very important person of this particular age of revival, as the first English printer. So remember his name, William Caxton. So along with English Chaucerians, Scottish Chaucerians, Thomas Wyatt and Olof Sarre, please remember William Caxton. And the other prose writers like Reginald Peacock, John Fisher, Sir Thomas Mallory. So Thomas Mallory has written Le Mortady Arthur, or Mortady Arthur, which is an important work of this age. And these are the major prose writers of the age. So along with these prose writers, we have some another category of prose writers who are known as educationists of the age, who actually spread some what we can say, some didactic kind of writings, educated the people about moral life, about virtuous life, about good conducts and all. They tried to educate through their writings. So two important such educationists we can find in this age of revival. Who are they? Thomas More. Thomas More, we know Utopia is his greatest creation, and Thomas Eliot. So I have seen enormous amount of questions about Utopia, so we will be doing a separate video for Utopia anyway. So please remember Thomas More and Thomas Eliot were the two major educationists of the particular age, that is age of revival. So they have written in prose form only. Utopia is not a poetry, it has written in the prose form. But it was didactic in purpose, and it was educationing. His purpose was to educate the people, the government officials, the officials about certain things and all. So that's why he invented a place known as Utopia. Now, along with this educationist, religious people and prose writers, we have some figures related to Bible, especially translating Bible into English. So William Tyndale and Miles Coverdale, these two people, William Tyndale, please remember William Tyndale and Miles Coverdale, these are the two persons related to English Bible. That is, they translated Bible into English language in the age age of revival. So you may feel that these names are too many. It is not that complicated even. So these are the major things happen, major authors as well as major things happened during the age of revival. Age of Elizabeth, like I said in the previous video, the age of Elizabeth is known as the golden age of English literature. Not only for literature, but it was a golden age for every other discipline, every other kind of intellectual sphere. Why? Because this age of Elizabeth, it's a age where we can see that there is a comparative tolerance, religious tolerance is there, there is a social contentment was there, then there were because of the ruler there were intellectual liberty was there for the intellectuals, then there were England was actually becoming a very modern society in the sense, and also it was actually establishing its mark in the world scenario by establishing colonies, by getting into or by visiting new lands of the globe. So it was like, England's patriotism was flourishing. Okay, they were expanding lands, and they were flourishing economically. They were flourishing because of the colonialism. They started to make colonies in various part of the globe. So it was like, England was prosperous or becoming prosperous during this age because of all these things. So there were no particular wars were going on. The political scenario was, or social scenario was peaceful for the general public. So that actually contributed intellectual highlighting, and intellectual liberty was there. So inventions were happening in the field of science, and many new knowledges were accumulating, and from various lands of the globe they were actually accumulating knowledges, wealth, and they were actually putting themselves as the center of the globe in many sense. So comparatively, this comparing to other previous ages and the ages that are going to coming up, this age is actually kind of everything was flourishing during this age. So that's how this age actually appealed to the imagination because of the peaceful surroundings, peacefulness that the people are living. It appealed to their imagination, their flourishment of their intellectual capacity, and literature along with all, literature also flourished. That's why, we can see that, or we can say the age of Elizabeth is a golden age for literature. So drama was the towering genre of this age. Drama was in the previous age, in the age of revival, drama, the major form or typical form of drama, where mystery, miracle, and morality plays. And slowly from morality plays, drama was assuming its social as well as its what we say secular form. Many number of, not only the religious themes, but also many number of themes began to discuss in drama or portrayed in drama. Historical themes, romantic themes, or many social kind of themes began to discuss or began to be enacted in the form of drama. So drama was brought into a highest stage of its development. We cannot say highest stage when we see drama in the modern or post-modern era, but still, considering the previous ages, drama was brought into its highest performance and development during the age of Elizabeth. Okay, so, and drama was the towering genre of this age as well. So until then, more or less, poetry was the towering genre until the age of revival, because everything, even history, chronicles, broads, romances, everything was writing in the form of poetry only. But drama, it actually, there is a new kind of shift that was happening in drama, and drama become a towering or the major genre of the age. Okay, So this age was also, like I said, it was characterized by great adventures and voyages and journeys to find sea routes, to find land routes to other places in the globe. So it was government funded, or it was, people were ready to do such adventures to get fame, to spread their religion, to spread their patriotism, to expand their land. So for various purposes they made adventures, and it was government funded. So that happened during the age of Elizabeth. So the reign of Queen Elizabeth spanned from 1558 to 1603, and followed by King James from 1603 to 1625. So like I said earlier, Queen Elizabeth was the ruler, and the ruler actually she allowed this imagination, this intellectual and literature to spread and flourish, and to he she maintained a kind of peacefulness in and around in her own country. That's why all this happened. If the ruler is not ready to accept the intellectual liberty of the intelligent people or the literary people, then nothing like this happened, right? So Queen Elizabeth, that's why this age is named after the monarch of this age, Elizabeth. That's why this age is also known as age of Elizabeth. But this age is also known as age of Shakespearean age, because Shakespeare is the towering figure of this age. William Shakespeare is the towering figure of the age. English literature was known known in this globe in the name of Shakespeare, right? Many people, they don't know any of the authors of English, but they know Shakespeare. Shakespeare name is so popular. So he belongs to the age of Elizabeth. That's why this age is also known as age of Shakespeare. So Queen Elizabeth ruled from 1558 to 1603. Please remember, often questions were asked like this: when, in which year Queen Elizabeth started to rule over England? So when does her reign actually began? In which year? So please remember 1558. It was not 1550. 1550 roughly a point of time. It's not that particularly in that age, from that year onwards this age of Elizabeth started. But since more or less in the mid of 16th century, this age of revival ended, and age of Elizabeth started in the start of the second half of the 16th century. Historians as well as critics, they have put the beginning of age of Elizabeth in 1550. It's not that particularly that from that year, okay, like I said in the early video. And it extended to 1603, and in 1603, after Queen Elizabeth, King James started ruling over England, and that age from 1603 to 1625, that age is known as, that particular small period is known as Jacobean period. Now let's see which are the major literary trends in the field of poetry. Lyrics and sonnets, that I forgot to mention here. Lyric and sonnets. Shakespeare has written many sonnets and many poetic treatises as well. So, and drama and chronicles. These three are the major literary trends of the age. Which are the major trends? Lyric, drama, and chronicles. And which are the eminent poets of this age? Edmund Spenser. Please remember Edmund Spenser for Fairy Queen. Okay, Edmund Spenser's Fairy Queen. We can also say Prothalamion, Epithalamion. Edmund Spenser's greatest works that we learned. Okay, most of us have learned Prothalamion in our PG classes. Then Philip Sidney. Philip Sidney is also known for his major sonnets as well, and Michael Drayton. So these three are the major poets of this age of Elizabeth. Now, drama was the towering genre of this age, like the major literary trend of this age. So pre-Shakespearean dramatists were there. Pre-Shakespearean means before Shakespeare there were some important. Before Shakespeare means it's not that all of them lived and died before Shakespeare, but before Shakespeare became popular, there were some dramatists, and they were popularly known as the university wits. So the university wits, they also known as pre-Shakespearean dramatists. Okay, so the university wits questions, I have seen n number of questions asking about the university wits. Okay, please remember that this group of dramatists belongs to uh, which age? The age of Elizabeth, and they are also known as pre-Shakespearean dramatists or playwrights. And who all are they? John Lilly, George Peele, Robert Greene, Thomas Lodge, Thomas Nash, Thomas Kidd, Christopher Marlowe. Okay, John Lilly, George Peele, Robert Greene, Thomas Lord, Thomas Nash, then Thomas Kidd's Spanish tragedy. Please remember Thomas Kidd. Then Christopher Marlowe. Remember Dr. Faustus, Tamberlane, and many other number of plays he has written. Christopher Marlowe. So university wits belongs to Elizabethan age, and you have to remember these names. There is no other choice, because often questions are asked about who among is not a university wits. You have to understand you have to pick out who is not a university wit. Then if only you know these names, then only you can actually pick the odd one out. John Lilly, George Peele, Robert Greene, Thomas Lodge, Thomas Nash, Thomas Kidd, Spanish tragedy, remember. Then Christopher Marlowe, Dr. Faustus and Tamberlane, and many other number of plays he has written. Why they were labeled and known as the university wits? So it is there in their name itself. The reason is there in their name. What is the reason? Because these dramatists, they have learned or they have studied in either of the University of Oxford or University of Cambridge. That is the reason. See, which are the two important and most popular universities there? Cambridge and Oxford. So these all these dramatists, they basically studied in either of the universities. So that's why they together known as university wits. When they formed a group, they together known as university wits. So in this way you will learn Thomas Lodge, Thomas Nash and Thomas Kidd. Learn them together. Then George Peele and Robert Greene. Learn them together. And John Lilly, Christopher Marlowe. Like that way you yourself find a pattern to learn. Otherwise it will be very difficult for you to remember even if you learned. Okay, so we cannot forget William Shakespeare obviously, and Ben Jonson. I forgot to mention it here, sorry for that. So William Shakespeare and Ben Jonson, these are the two giants, literary giants of the era. About William Shakespeare, obviously we will doing a couple of videos obviously. So during that time, let me tell you more details about William Shakespeare. Then the age ends with, in 1625, Charles I ascended to the throne of England after the death of James I, and in that way a Jacobean age comes to an end. Queen Elizabeth's reign ends in 1603. Okay, remember that. So after the age of Elizabeth, we have the Puritan and the Restoration age. I have put these two ages together because they are too much connected. Now let's first of all look at the Puritan age. Puritan age starts from 1625 and ends in 1660. What is happening in this age? So in the previous age, we have seen that in 1625, Charles first ascended to the throne. Okay, in 1625, Charles first ascended to the throne, and after that something must have happened. That's why this age is known as the Puritan age. So the English Civil War fought between Charles I and his supporters known as Cavaliers and Parliamentarians, or the Roundheads, or the Puritan middle class. So a civil war happened between two groups of people inside England itself. So after a period of peacefulness, sanity, what happened? Again the period of war is happening. So in the Puritan age, after the assertion of Charles I, in the court of England, among the intellectual people or court people of England, two groups are forming. So one group is actually supporting Charles I, or the throne. They are supporting the throne. So who is in the throne now? Charles I. So they are known as Cavaliers. Please remember that name. And those who are actually not supporting, but supporting a parliament, a kind of independent parliament should happen, that kind of people, that group of people are known as parliamentarians. Okay, so the cavaliers, they are also known as roundheads. Cavaliers, they were supporting the royal uh, throne, the the throne of England, that they support that England should retain its throne, and no need of any parliament or independent or any kind of that kind of ruling is not needed in England. So such persons form a group known as cavaliers, and they are also known as roundheads. Parliamentarians, on the other hand, they wanted a secular kind of ruling over England. They want parliament, and some of the rule and some of the powers must be transferred to the parliament and all. So those people are known as parliamentarians, and parliamentarians majorly formed by Puritan middle class of England. So parliamentarians, they were mainly Puritan. Puritan means extreme Christian believers. Puritan middle class people. And a war was happened. A civil war happened between these two people, cavaliers and parliamentarians. And the war ended. Someone has to emerge as victorious, right, in a war. So the victory was belonged to parliamentarians. So the war ended with the victory of the parliamentarians. Okay, so the parliamentarians emerged as victorious. Parliamentarians emerged as victorious, and Charles I was executed. So since parliamentarians emerged as victorious, what will they do? They executed Charles. They were not simply arrested, but they executed Charles first and his son. Charles first got a son, Charles II. He fled to France. So in order to save his life, he immediately fled to France. And for the first time in the history of England, monarchy was replaced with the Commonwealth of England, and then with a protectorate under Oliver Cromwell. So please remember the name Oliver Cromwell. Oliver Cromwell, he was like a war hero, or kind of a person who is there to protect England, and under Oliver Cromwell's protectorate, England was for the first time, England was experiencing Commonwealth. So monarchy was replaced. What is monarchy? Rule under a person. So Charles first was the monarch, and after that, Charles II will follow. Charles II will ascend to the throne if monarchy was not replaced. So monarchy was replaced with the Commonwealth as parliamentarians emerged victorious in the English Civil War that was fought between cavaliers and parliamentarians. Okay. So what happened? Monarchy was no more there during the Puritan age. So that's why Puritans, these parliamentarians, were comprised of Puritan middle class of England. So basically Puritan ideologies, Puritan way of life, their things, their way of ruling came to be popular, or their way of things were established in England. So that's why this age is known as the Puritan age. Okay, so monarchy was replaced. Puritan rule extended until Charles II was restored to the throne. So in 1660, what happened? The King Charles I's son, Charles II, was restored to the throne. So from there, the age of restoration starts. So until 1660, from 1625 to 1620, please remember, it was Puritan rule was happening, that is Commonwealth was happening in England, and it was mainly ruled by Puritan ideologies and all. So it is known as Puritan age. So Puritan age ends in 1660 as Charles II was restored to the throne, and monarchy was again restored in England. And there were 4 groups of poets. So we can see that there were 4 groups of poets during the age of Puritan. Spencerian poets were there. Obviously, like I said in earlier video, that if a great person is a great poet was there in the early age, obviously in the coming age, in the coming next generation, there will be followers for that great person. So Edmund Spenser was a great poet of the Elizabethan age. Naturally, he got some what we say followers, and he got inspired. He inspired many poets of the coming generation. So we have a group known as Spencerian poets in the Puritan age. Then Cavalier poets. Cavalier poets means those who are supporting the royal cause. Then metaphysical poets are there. Pre-Augustan poets also there. The Spenserian poets, Cavalier and Parliamentarians, two groups were there. So Cavalier poets were there. Metaphysical poets, John Donne, Andrew Marvell, all these persons we can see in metaphysical poets. Then in the group known as metaphysical poets, then pre-Augustan poets. John Milton is a pre-Augustan poet. Remember about the Puritan age and its kind of political scenario. A shift happened in England's society. So because of Puritan belief, Puritans believed that drama was impure. Simply because of that, they closed down all the theaters in which drama was staged. So there were no dramatic compositions we could see in this age. In Puritan age, only some religious as well as some didactic or some that kind of very secular, not very secular kind of things we cannot see in this age, because Puritans were against all those kind of liberties that people could have. So they believed in a very strict kind of religious kind of moral kind of lifestyle. So simply they restricted every other way of composing poetry or literature. So that's why we have Spenserian poets, Cavalier poets, metaphysical poets, and pre-Augustan poet. Only poetry was the towering genre of this period, we can say. So who all are the major Spenserian poets? Phineas Fletcher, George Wither, and William Brown. Try to at least try to remember these names, Spenserian poets. Then Cavalier poets, Robert Herrick, Thomas Carew, John Suckling, and Richard Lovelace. Metaphysical poets you have to remember because this is very important. John Donne, George Herbert, Richard Crashaw, Andrew Marvell. So Andrew Marvell's Coy Mistress you have to remember. Then John Donne's Holy Sonnets, and many that be not be proud. So many number of then Valediction, Forbidding Morning, Good Morrow, Canonization. I can say a couple of more. Then metaphysical poets. So why they were known as metaphysical poets? They actually had conceits, metaphysical conceits in their poems. They actually brought unsimilar or two dissimilar images together and try to bring about some meanings out of it. So that's why basically they were known as metaphysical poets. They will bring far-fetched ideologies and ideas and notions into their poems. And pre-Augustan poets. Who were the pre-Augustan poets? Edmund Waller, Sir John Denham, Abraham Cowley, and John Milton. So these are the major pre-Augustan poets. Robert Burton and Thomas Hobbes were the prominent prose writers of the age. Mainly poetry was the towering genre of the age. There were no dramatic productions we could see during this age because Puritans simply believed that drama is too fleshy, or drama is too impure for religious beliefs, and drama is making people immoral in a sense. So they believed it so, and their rule was happening. So simply they closed down all the theaters. So these are some major points that we could see in Puritan age. Now, in 1660, Charles II was restored to the throne. That means monarchy was again restored to the throne. So the title of this age is the Restoration Age. From 1660 to 1700, it is Restoration Age. What is restored? Something has to be restored. That's why it got the name. So monarchy was restored as Charles II was again restored to the throne of England as the monarch of England. So monarchy was the thing that got restored. So in the Puritan age, it was Commonwealth and Puritan rule was happening. So monarchy was again restored in 1616 as Charles II was ascended to the throne of England. So this will immediately what will happen? Reopening of English theatre. So English theatre was suppressed during the age of age of Puritan, or the Puritan age. English theatre was closed down as Puritans believed that theatre was impure. Theatre was making people immoral. So reopening of English theatre was the thing that immediately happened after the restoration of monarchy. And King Charles II claimed the throne in 1660. That again resulted in the restoration of monarchy. Then after that, what happened? Complete repudiation of puritanical ideals. Everything that is labeled as Puritan was negated, repudiated. Nothing was given any legitimacy if it is puritanical, if it is Puritan. Puritan idea about morality, Puritan idea about life, Puritan idea of religion, everything was actually thrown out of the court, out of the literary scenario. We can see this kind of a licentiousness and a kind of unrestricted freedom in every other sphere, especially in literature. So Puritan restraint was replaced by a licentiousness of contact. Okay, so this can be very visible in literature as such. So we can see after Puritan age, when again monarchy was restored, two political parties emerged in parliament. So parliament was there, but parliament was not ruling over England. It was the monarch, but in the parliament itself, two political parties emerged. Please remember their names: Tories and Whigs. Not wings, it's Whigs. Tories and Whigs. So Tories actually, they were supporters. They were the Cavaliers. We can see that they were supporting the royal cause, prerogatives and all. The Tories, they were supporters of the royal cause, royal prerogatives. And Whigs, they actually challenged the priorities of king and agendas of king. Okay, so these were not like they were not going together, but they were actually challenging each other. Tories actually supporting royal cause and prerogatives, the king, while Whigs were challenging the king's priorities and agenda. Please remember these two political parties emerged after restoration, or maybe during the restoration age. We could say two parliament groups emerged in England: Tories and Whigs. Please be very clear that Tories were the supporters. Only learned one. You learned that Tories were the supporters of the royal prerogative and causes. Then obviously Whigs must be challenging king's authority and king's priorities and agenda. Okay, please be clear about it, because after this, every other literary persons that we are going to come across, they have either of these either of these priorities. Either they will be initially Tory and they will change into Whig, and they will have choices. They actually inclined to either of these parliament parties. So remember what is Tory and what is Whig. Okay, so the major literary prominent trends were drama was the major literary genre, because drama was restricted in Puritan age. So all of a sudden, when it got a freedom like that, then drama began to again flourish. Heroic drama and comedy of manners, these are the two major kind of drama we could find in this age. And heroic drama is basically, it tells about heroes, their major deeds they have done. John Dryden's All for Love, Antony and Cleopatra. Antony and Cleopatra is also titled as All for Love. And Dryden is a towering figure of a restoration age, and he has written both heroic drama and also comedy of manners, but his Antony and Cleopatra is one of the major example for heroic drama. And comedy of manners, we can see that comedy of manners means it's basically a comedy which is written for laughter. It actually criticizing, it actually making fun of the manners, the lifestyle, the kind of life that the higher society was leading. Basically, who all are going to watch this comedy of manners, this drama? Any other drama? Who can afford it, right? Who can afford it? Who can afford watching a drama? Mainly the middle class and the upper class people. Most probably the upper class people. But they are going to watch a drama in which their way of life, their manners, their ideals, their kind of assumptions are mocked and made in such a way that it is, it brings about some sort of comedy out of it. So that is known as comedy of manners. There, the upper class society's way of life, their manners, being ridiculed and being portrayed in such a way that there won't be any kind of restrictions. Their licentious, their lustful way of life, and their secret intrigues and their kind of meaningless things that they are doing in their life just to have a fun in life. All those things are it's not criticizing, but it is ridiculed in comedy of manners. Okay, basically these upper class people, they are going to watch a comedy manners to laugh at themselves. Okay, so mainly heroic drama and comedy of manners were the prominent literary trends of the age. Now let's see some of the notable dramatists. Some of the notable dramatists were John Dryden, William Wycherley, William Congreve, Afra Bren, and John Vanberg. So these are the major comedy. These people, John Dryden has written both heroic drama and comedy manners, but William Wycherley, William Congreve, and Alfra Ben and John. Alfra Ben is a woman writer. Okay, John Vanberg. These dramatists, they mainly have written comedy of manners. And along with these dramatists, we have some prose writers as well. Who all are they? Samuel Butler, John Bunyan, John Locke. John Bunyan. Remember, I have given a picture here. It is actually belong to John Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress and William Butler's Hudibras. Please remember Hudibras, William Butler's composition Hudibras, because it's a prose work and it actually ridicules Puritan ideals. Every other Puritan ideals is ridiculed in Samuel Butler's Hudibras, and John Bunyan's the Pilgrim's Progress. The picture I have shown here is from that. Then John Locke is also a famous intellectual of the age. And this age also has some diarists who actually wrote some personal diaries and later they published it. John Evelyn and Samuel Pepys. So I have seen a question that like Samuel Pepys belongs to which age, and he's a diarist of Restoration age, and a question also was there like Samuel Pepys' diary extends from which year to which year. So such questions are also asked in UGC NET. So please don't think that these names are irrelevant. So try to remember that diarists were there during this age of Restoration. So that's all about Restoration age. Restoration age ends in 1700, and what is restored in this age? Monarchy was restored as Charles II was ascended to the throne in 1660. So if you have any queries about any of the details that I have mentioned here, please do ask. And if you want me to make any other content that will be helpful for you, also mention that in the comment section. Please mention your suggestions and your queries, doubts, and your any other details that you want to share with me. And if you like the video, please press the like button, and also subscribe to the channel and press the like button, and also please share this video to those who are needed. You may know some of your friends also preparing for NET, and visit my site www.highpoint.in, and it will be helpful for your UGC NET examination preparations as well. So thank you for listening to my video, and let's meet in the next video. Until then, bye bye. Thank you.